Okay, now that we've entered this family into the project under the family shelter, the type HUD for February 7th, we see that both clients were entered in the project by clicking on the magnifying glass that says 2. Now, since we already assigned ourselves as case manager, we want to create a case plan. Case plans is where we keep all case notes and all personal notes regarding client interactions and our goals and our progress towards those goals. And so nothing personal should be anywhere else in the system in regards to client notes except for under this section. So when you click on the case plan tab, it's going to ask you to add a goal. So the goal is the overarching thing you're working towards your family or individual on achieving. So for this, we're just going to select both George and Gina because we're working with both father and daughter to work towards housing. It's up to you if you wanted to just select the parents or the head of household for the goal. It's more important when it comes to the services you provide to select the right people. For me, it's easier just to select the entire household. Okay, now for this, remember, if I have to change this provider in this drop-down list, that means I'm not entering data as. So since we're in the right project, we don't need to change that. For case manager, if you are assigned case manager, your name will be in the drop-down list. This is a good reminder to see if you are assigned case manager or maybe you forgot to do that step. However, your name should be here if you're assigning a goal and working towards that goal with your client. So you select your name, the date the goal was set. We don't need to backdate, but we can just change the date here. We started working with this client on February 7th, so we're going to set that goal like that. The classification for this goal, they are just entering shelter, so we're just going to do a pretty basic goal of housing. And because we're not sure yet of the different type of housing that we're going to provide or help the person obtain, then we're going to just select housing. And this is just a general goal of family will work to obtain housing. Just put a brief note about what the overall goal is, and again, I like to put my initials. It's not required, it's just good standard practice. Target date you can leave blank because it's really impossible to determine how long it's going to take or what it's going to take for your family to obtain housing, so you can leave this blank. It's optional, you can use it if you'd like to, however, you just want to kind of stay on top of if you put a target date but you're not following up, because then it looks like your goal is set and you're way past your target. Okay, overall status, now we usually only use 2. We use closed, and that's once we're done, the client has left our project or we stopped working towards the goal, or in progress. That means we've identified they have a goal and we're working on it with them. Identified just means we've identified the goal but we're not yet in progress and working towards the goal. An exit reminder is something we want to set to follow up after the client leaves our program, which is very rare, which is very rare to happen in our programs. So for now, we're just going to select in progress. Okay, and we can leave if closed outcome, the date, and the % complete blank because the goal is not yet closed. When it is closed, we want to fill in these areas. Now the follow-up date is good to use if you want to set a reminder on your home page that'll do a countdown. So for example, if I need to meet with this family in 30 days to do an assessment with them, then I want to put a date that's at least 30 days from today. So I would put March 11, 2019. Shalissa Coutoulakis. It automatically populates the case manager as the follow-up user. You could select someone else that is under this project as a follow-up user if that's something you wanted to do. Other than that, you don't. You just want to make sure this is your name. Follow-up made, so once you make the follow-up or the time comes, you'll see on your homepage, which I'll show you after this, then you want to make sure you answer if you follow up if you made the follow-up, if you completed the follow-up, and if the outcome was achieved or was failed or however it was. And you add your goal. Then you scroll down and you see there's a spot to add case notes. So this is where you'll add your case note. So again, we don't need to backdate. We're going to select our name from case manager. Remember, we don't need to enter data as, we don't need to change this because we are entering data as. Okay. The note date is not going to be 2/18, it's going to be from when I met with them on 2/7. And now this can be your organization's standard case note practice or however it is. you just want to never put another client's name in here, and you want to try to use initials for staff if you talk about interactions or different discussions this client has with different people. Those are just standard case note practices. However, when you write your case note, it can be anything met with client from 2 to 3 p.m. and interviewed them for housing. Identify the following needs. And you save your case note. Your notes are here. It says who did it, who the case manager was, and the date you did the note. Action steps are not currently being used. You can use action steps to track progress towards a goal. That's up to you if you want to do that step, but it's not yet required. What is required is that every time we meet with our client, not only do we add a case note, but we must add a service transaction. So when we click Add Service, it says this goal will close the goal pop-up and take you to the service transaction page. And that's okay. It'll automatically save everything you already did. Okay, so now it'll take you to the service transaction page. Now, we met with George, but not Gina, so we're not going to select both of them. So George was provided on 2/18, so remember, this was 2/7, no need to go to backdate mode, 2/7/2019, and we said it was at 2 p.m. Times are not required unless your supervisor suggests that you put exact times of meetings. You do just want the hours, the length of time to be accurate. So if this was 1 hour or 2 hours or 5 hours, you just want to, or 5 minutes, you just want to make sure it's accurately reflected. Okay? The service type was just case management. We don't need to select a provider-specific service. Then we click Save and Continue. Now you never want to put any service notes that contain any personal information here. Okay, service transactions are visible to anyone that has access to the system and access to this client record. So do not put anything personal here. That's what case notes are for. What you can do was you can say met with client for intake. That's it. You do not want to say any outcome, any goals, any progress, any where they are, what they're doing, what they talked about. Nothing personal in service notes. Okay. Service costs, we usually use this for rental assistance, so not many of you users will be using this. Same with funding source. If you need any additional support with these, just please contact us at the Coalition. If you wanted to add any documentation to your service transaction, you can, like any case notes or whatever it is. You can scan them and upload them. Again, they're not required. Okay, so projected follow-up date you don't need. You just skip down to the need goal. And now this is where it gets confusing. This is a service transaction for case management that you provided from 2 to 3. Okay, your client had a goal of housing. This is asking because they had a goal, you identified the goal, you're working towards the need, and now they want to know the service you provided, did it meet their need or not? By putting closed, it means you met their need. They had a case management need, and you met with them, it's closed. Now, if it's fully met, means you met with them, they actually completed their meeting. Not met, maybe they missed the meeting. Service pending, maybe you scheduled it, but they still haven't followed up. Partially met, maybe they didn't fully meet with you, maybe they left halfway. Regardless, most of the time it's closed and fully met. Your client had a need, you provided a service, and then their need is fully met. Okay? And then save and exit. And this will take you to the service transaction page, which we'll view in another training. However, what we're going to do, there's another large tab on the left called Client Information. We're going to click on that. We're going to go back to case plans. And we're going to see what that looks like. So now we see the date we added the goal, which is fine. It was a little late. We want to do it as close to real time as possible. And it shows that there's one note here. Now you can do multiple things in the future. You can click on notes, view all of the client notes here from this goal and print them. You can add a case note from here, cancel, or you can reopen the pencil, scroll down, add a case note here, and then you remember the service we added last time to match this case note is now also here. So every time I add a case note, I want to make sure I have a service that match it. This is what funders see. Funders aren't looking at detailed notes. They want to see if you're providing services, what are you providing? Are you providing what your clients need to the right clients, etc.? So this is very important that you pay attention to service transactions. Save and exit. You've officially done your goal and case plan, but quickly before we finish this training, I just want to show you what that follow-up did. If you remember in the first trainings we talked about on your home page, there's a counts report. There's also a follow-up list. So we had a goal with these clients. If we scroll over it, we can see what it is. Housing and George Smith. So now we know we have 21 days left to meet this goal. But maybe we forgot what that goal is. We just click on the client ID and it'll take us to the client profile. Or if you go back home, if you click right on the goal, it'll take you right to that goal. And we said that we wanted to follow up on March 11th. Now, in order to make that go away from your home page, you can either say you made the follow-up, set another date, or clear the date. So I'm going to clear the date, and I'm going to save and exit, use current system date, and I'm going to go back home. And now because I cleared the date, there's no more follow-up. So you want to make sure if you set a follow-up when you're setting your case plans and goals, that you pay attention to the time remaining, the countdown, what's overdue, and you clear this out. This can be very helpful if utilized, or it can build up very fast if you don't pay attention to it. Okay? And that's your training on case plans.